Bloomberg Audio Studios.
Podcasts, radio, news.
Single best idea. And thank you for listening to 6 minutes of what we try to do. We try to make it smart. Sometimes we succeed, other times less so. Today's show was lights out. I think we're almost celebrating the unburdening of politics every moment in that. We did some politics today. Of course, the president speaking tonight. And we'll do a little bit right here, but we extended this into three voices today just because it was such a rich conversation today. Thank you for listening on YouTube. Subscribe to Bloomberg Podcast. It grows every day. We're just really thrilled with the way that's building out here in the summer of 2024. Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, both platforms coming out with new improved systems, I'm told, in the autumn. And that will be a good as well. Bill Dudley for Bloomberg Opinion today, a blistering essay. He shifts, forget about higher interest rates. Fed's got to stay resilient. Bill Dudley not only says cut rates, but get going July 31. Hugely debated topic across the show today and in the coming days to July 31. Here's Jane Foley of Rabobank.
No. You know, the market's looking at September. The market's comfortable with September. I think if we had July, that would be a real surprise. And we would see the dollar course react to that as well as other asset markets. But the question is, are we in a period when the Federal Reserve wants to shock the market? And I would say, probably not. I mean, there are some central banks that want to shock the market. The Swiss central bank, for instance, this year twice has managed to shock the market to its advantage. It's managed to weaken its currency, which is, like a real present really for the S&P, a real gift from the market to allow it to be surprised by the S&P. But does the Fed want to surprise the market? I would say not. So I think maybe the most we would get is a much more positive signal that September is on the way.
Jane Foley at Rabobank there, and it's a really interesting source of topic to see Bill Dudley shift. I can't emphasize how Dr. Dudley has been so out front. I think of Mohamed Al-Arian, the Citigroup Combine. They just said, Stifel, Lindsay Piegza, same idea, just incredibly out front on rates higher for longer. A big shift today from Bill Dudley, and there's Jane Foley talking about it through the prism of the foreign exchange market. One of the heritage things we try to do, not every day, is get people steeped in academics on the issues at hand. 2 years ago, Gautam Mukunda, out of MIT, Harvard, now a Yale lecturer, came out with a book about picking presidents. The idea of getting out front 18 months or 2 years on where all of us are right now was just stunning. We opened with Harry Truman. Here is Gautam Mukunda on our politics of 2024.
So I got a text from a very, very senior Republican this morning saying, this is a quote, "I stand corrected. I thought she would be a disaster, and this has been the best 3-day rollout she could possibly have had." I think he will find a way to respond. I would never underestimate Donald Trump's cunning, but his standard attacks are really going to run into problems here because by running against a black woman, the sort of dog whistle politics that he's used to, he's going to be really tempted to go over the line. And we've already seen a bunch of House Republicans start calling her, a DEI candidate, things like that. Just to put this in perspective, 6 years as Attorney General, 4 years as Senator, 4 years as Vice President. She is way more qualified than, J.D. Vance or, George W. Bush, not that long ago.
Gautam Mukunda, associated with Yale University, and let's not forget Fletcher School work and others. He's a force up in New England, and really can't say enough about his book, shockingly prescient, Picking Presidents. The next voice is someone familiar. He walked in the studio today. It looked like a tablecloth from Williams-Sonoma he's wearing. You know who it is. It's Dan Ives, talking here on technology. Paul had to ask him about Tesla and Google. What I wanted to know from Dan Ives is AI, artificial intelligence. Do you put the different companies in different buckets? And if you partition AI, which is the company that's like the conservative play? Is there a measured play to AI?
It's that company in Redmond. Nadella and Microsoft, that is right now the best bet in terms of AI, in terms of where we see on spending. Azure, Copilot it's kind of their world, everyone else paying rent from an AI perspective. Google narrowing the gap, but it just goes back to we have $1 trillion of spend. So if you want to sell it on these kind of knee-jerk reactions, go ahead, bulls will buy them.
Dan Ives there. We talked about some of the parts, too, on Apple, all that coming out in the vicinity of July 30, August 1st. Pro tip on the Bloomberg terminal to figure out when a company has earnings, you go, in the case of Microsoft, MSFT, the yellow equity button, you hit DES for description, and right smack dab in the middle of the screen will be the earnings date. I do this all the time. I only know 3 functions on the terminal, but I do that all the time just to try to figure out when is Apple, when is Microsoft, when is Amalgamated Chinstrap, and all. We're out on YouTube. We're out on Apple CarPlay. We're out on Android Auto, on Apple Podcasts. Single best idea.